Hi guys, and welcome to the Lowland League catch-up. It's myself, Rampant FM, and today I'm joined with Mozza. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How's you?
Good, very good. Obviously, an action-packed week. We took a bit of a break, but we're back. Quite happy to go on and talk about the league and the Scottish Cup games.
Yeah, absolutely. It was another good weekend for the Lowland, so we'll get right into it and kind of go through it bit by bit.
Just a bit of news in case people are not aware. The league has just signed a media partnership with Rock Sport Radio. Any insight into that, mate?
Yeah, well, we've mentioned Rock Sport previously when they do their Wednesday night football show and so on. Most people listening to this will no doubt have seen Bill Young on Twitter and Rock Sport themselves as well, so it makes sense. They are really keen to spread the word about lower league football in Scotland. They're big supporters of it, and just from the kind of media blurb, shall we say,
Yep.
like it's digital radio, 2.7 million people can tune in Central Scotland and online, and it's music and sport basically. That's their bag, and yeah, it makes sense because it's really good quality stuff they put out there. So it's I was really happy to see that.
Me too. It's obviously more coverage for the league, coverage that the league deserves. I'm assuming you'll be similar, Moza, and obviously Michael as well. But a lot of people have thanked me for what we do, obviously promoting the league and that. But this is on another level, so to speak. That's what we want, though. We want more coverage for the league, but it's not just down to like me and you. It's everyone. Everyone. It's a team effort. It's the guys, writing the previews. It's the guys on the websites. It's the clubs themselves. A big improvement. What I've noticed this season from some of the clubs in terms of stuff that they do in terms of media, like videos, highlights, all that sort of stuff. It's a group effort, and everyone should be happy that they've George as well will be happy that we've sort of got this deal with Rocksport for
Yeah,
the league.
absolutely. The league's making great strides. The last couple of years, especially when it's ramped up a little bit in terms of the speed of it, and it's all going the positive direction.
Definitely. I mean, even in terms of as I said, the clubs themselves and what's happening on the football pitch, really top quality. It's affordable games. People can just go and you don't have to worry about breaking the bank balance to see and I must say actually, all the games I've been to this season, none of them have actually been dull, or I've never been bored, or what I mean. They've all been highly competitive. They've all been really good quality. For the money that you're paying as well. Is as I say, it's a group effort, and it's just fantastic. And I think we're really building something really good here.
Yeah, absolutely. Having said that, though, we are going to start this pod today by going into a 0-0 draw. So, on that very encouraging, exciting note, let's get into it.
Yep, the only Lowland League game at the weekend. It was a low key affair. No, I'm like it. It was two of the better teams, obviously the champion Spartans versus a team that's also up there, East Kilbride. A 0-0. From what I heard, a very tense game. Similar. These teams have played each other before. It's no surprise that it was really close in terms of the game. Obviously, the Scottish Challenge Cup, the first round, East Kilbride won on penalties after a 1-1 draw. And, yep, they're playing each other again in the Scottish Cup second round, so so they can't get away from each other at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of these. They're two of the class teams in the league. There's no doubt about that, and they're at the stage now where they know each other very, very well in terms of strengths and weaknesses. So it's going to be a lot harder to kind of break away and get one ahead of the other in terms of, even if there was going to be a win, it was always going to be a narrow one. So it's probably not a surprise to see it end in a stalemate. Given that there was so much at stake in the league, you've only got your 30 well, I say 30 games. You've not got that many anymore with only 15 teams, so you've only got 28 games, which makes it even tougher to get the points you need on the board. So it's from what I read, there was plenty of chances and plenty of
Yep.
attempts on goal, but again, you've got two of the class keepers in the league for those two teams there as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, given the Scottish Cup second round's just round the corner as well, if we get a win that way or if it goes to a replay, because by that point they'll be sick of the sight of each other.
Yeah. You know, if I was a betting man, put money on a replay, I think. Again, two class teams, very, very tough. The Spartans, champions, and East Kilbride definitely up there in terms of favourites for the league as well. It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. It's been an interesting one going forward to see what happens in the Scottish Cup and obviously in the league as well, because there's certainly other teams that could possibly take advantage of the fact that they're playing each other quite a lot, and they'll and whatnot.
The other thing, just a wee side note on that game, is brilliant to see Dougie Samuel back in the dugout, just to extend that welcome back to him as well after his issues he's had health wise. So cracking to see him back involved again.
Absolutely, mate. So let's get into the Scottish Cup. Very, very good weekend for Lowland League teams. We'll start with BSC Glasgow, because they were playing Nobody, who are a very tough side. I mean, they were a wee bit invisible at the back, I heard. The bad patter's back. No, obviously BSC had a bye. Fortunate for them.
And they didn't celebrate it much on the Twitter account, did they?
Of course not. No. Let's just start with Whitehill Welfare. Their first win in a wee while. Kevin Keane goal over fellow Lowland League team Edinburgh Uni. Fantastic for Whitehill. They have been on the verge of their first win for a wee while, and they've confirmed obviously their management team is now permanent. So a bit of stability for Whitehill, much needed. Obviously it's a cup game. It'll be interesting to see if they start picking up wins in the league, really.
Yeah, and obviously congratulations to Jock for getting the gig full time there, and I know the rest of the backroom staff that have been helping him out have also agreed to stay on now. But yeah, as we've said, they've been threatening to kind of push through and get a win for a wee bit. They've done it, and Edinburgh Uni, they've kind of had a wee up and down time of things of late, but they're not by any means an easy team to get a result against. So they've done well to get through that, and we'll see if that, like you say, brings it into league form as well, and see if they can push up the table.
It's similar with Gretna, obviously. I felt a wee bit sorry for Gretna because they got that really good away win against Whitehill in the South Challenge Cup, and obviously we didn't have the catch-up last week, so I was kind of hoping that they would get a decent result against Vale of Leithen, and they did, in fairness to them. They won 3-2. Kingsley Gradison and Ashley Kelly getting a brace there. Fantastic for Gretna. I know it's much needed again. It's what they do in the league now. Two fantastic cup wins, and it's how they go forward from here.
And a really interesting draw for the second round they've got, but we'll get to that at the end after we've been through the games. That looks like a cracker, just from looking at the updates and so on. Goals aplenty, going back and forth. Vale have obviously had a decent time of things recently as well under Chris Anderson. But Kingsley Granson and Ashley Kelly getting the vital goals, and yeah, we'll see what that means for them going forward in the league as well.
And I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about, but that was my game of the weekend, so
that certainly sounds like a pretence.
And your old favourites, mate, Gala Ferradine, smashing it 6-0 against Lossiemouth. What a result that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say the first one we'll get to here that's not an all Lowland affair. So in the kind of Highland Lowland ones, going back a couple of years, it's been up and down, to be honest, which is what you'd expect, given that both leagues are at the same level and they kind of tend to share the spoils when it gets to the end of season playoffs as well. But in this occasion, Gala Ferradine Rovers coming through, and let's be frank about it, they've absolutely smashed Lossiemouth there, who are a decent outfit generally, but the thing that stuck out for me is Rory Payton getting his hat trick on his debut, and he was actually named Player of the Round by the Scottish Cup themselves. I noticed, and the keeper Patrick Martin making his debut on loan from Hibs. The other it was Patterson, McCurdy, and Baxter also getting on the score sheet. So all established names that we know what they can do at this. Well, at Lowland League level, I know this was a cup, but you can't argue with that result, can you? And it's kind of finally shown the potential it was there, and the team that is, let's be fair, they're still getting to know each other at this point in the season, but it gives you an idea what they're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had a feeling that maybe the Scottish Cup team were probably at the Gala game. I don't know if you got that feeling.
Yeah.
David Knox obviously was there as well. It's fantastic for Gala. And fair play to the two young guys on loan from Hibs coming in. You know, I think it was midweek they signed, and then obviously straight into the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. That's really good to see. We're seeing a lot of maybe youngsters that are at SPL teams coming on loan to the Lowland League to get experience. It's good that the Lowland League's rated fairly highly amongst the sort of pyramid, if you will, at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the Scottish Premiership, there's very few teams in there now that don't have a guy on loan to a Lowland side. And be they development loans or kind of full-time loans. But that's why the development loan system was brought in, to give these guys a chance to play not just the kind of reserves or under-20 football, but actual full kind of blood and thunder first team games as well, and help them develop that way. And I mean, you look at I'm just looking through kind of names here. You've got Pignatello on loan at BSC from Livingston, so anywhere from the teams that have come just up to the Premiership to, well, Rangers have been sending guys out on loan. Gala themselves had a couple of Rangers boys last season. So did Edgysport actually as well. So it's a sign of the confidence in the league and the standard that these teams are willing to send their young prospects out.
Definitely, mate. Completely agreed. And speaking of hat-tricks, Scott McLaughlin, the Eddysport captain, he got 3 against Buckie Thistle in the 3-1 win. Mm-hmm. Eddysport, again, coming off that tough defeat against BSC last week, it's a smashing result to obviously they got defeated quite heavily at BSC. I think it was 5-2. Mm-hmm. And so coming straight off that defeat to go into another cup game and get a win is obviously fantastic. Yeah,
and we've talked about Edgysport a few times in the last, say, kind of 3-4 weeks. They've clearly got the talent there, and what they're building and the way they're building it, and that goes to prove it, because Buckie Thistle haven't not long won that Highland League, bear in mind, and they're very similar squad wise to that team that did go and win the league. Just from looking at it on paper, they're not an easy team to beat, and by the looks of things, it was 3-1 going on 4 or 5-1. So it was a really, really good, solid result from them. And it was 3-0, if I remember rightly, and Buckie got a consolation. Yep. So you can't argue with that. Cracking result for them.
Going into Burnt Island Shipyard versus Colts, it was 1-1 at half time. I tell you what, mate, I was sitting on Twitter yesterday trying to keep up all the results, knowing obviously that I would be doing the catch up today with you. Colts were one of the teams that gave me a wee bit of a scare. And 1-1 at half time, Burnt Island Shipyard, I think they got their goal just before half time, so I was like, that can sometimes be a momentum killer for teams, but no, they came out. Goals from Fraser Team, Stephen O'Neill and Sean Brown brace sees them through to the next round. Fantastic from the Colts. And just a shout out, Mozza, to the Colts, because I have spoken about, they've not been included in the last sort of few catch-ups because postponed fixtures and whatnot. Yeah. So massive shout out to them. It's good to talk about them. A team I'm really impressed with so far this season in the Lowland League.
Yeah, absolutely. They always seem to start well, and it's just a case of if they can keep it going to the end of the year. But that was a tougher draw than I think many people gave credit for, because when you look at Shippy this season, they've had a couple of not bad results, and let's be honest, a better East of Scotland League this year, with all the new teams added to it. So it's not an easy place to go and get a result. And they obviously went in half-time 1-1, but they've done the job. And again, it's Sean Brown, Fraser Team, Stephen O'Neill. It's guys that always seem to come up in the scoring charts, doing the business again. And that's what you need. At any level of football, you need guys that you can rely on to step up and put the ball in the net when it comes down to it. So they've done it again. They're in the next round, and yes, a chance of kind of progression and a chance to get a wee bit of money in the bank.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And one of the harder games, we're obviously talking about the Highland and Lowland League teams. One of the harder games was obviously for Shire, having to travel up to Huntly.
Yeah.
Not an easy place to go. Similar to the Colts game, it was 1-1 at half time, but they came out. They got another 4-1 result. Drew Ramsey with a goal. Andy Rogers penalty, and Ross Allam getting a brace. It's really strange. Probably exactly like the Colts game in a lot of ways, but I tell you what, fair play to the Shire guys. That's a trek going up to Huntly.
Not half.
I think I saw a picture on their Twitter. I was watching the boxing last night, and they were just getting back home. So massive respect to the Shire boys.
It was pitch black when they got home. Put it that way, because I saw the same thing. But again, Del Ure going up with Andy Rogers, and from what I read in the reviews of the fans that were there, it sounds like that was the best performance they've put in this season, which tells you a lot when you've travelled that far and you'll have tired legs getting off the bus to go and put in a performance and get the result. Full credit to them again, and it's another Lowland side beating another Highland side, so it's good for the league in general.
Definitely. And again, going up to the Highlands, the Strollers were at Forey Mechanics, 2-2 draw. They just gave... I'm so glad when it popped up on Twitter. David Churchill managed to get the replay sort of late into the game goal, and Robbie Laird obviously got their first one, but it's a replay at the weekend, Christie Gillis Park, obviously. That's Forey Mechanics, obviously, probably, in fairness, one of the sort of better known Highland teams, so that's a really good result, albeit they have to play them in a replay. They'll fancy their chances at home, certainly against Forey Mechanics, and it'll be Forey's that has to obviously come down and do the travelling this time, so certainly Strollers looking good for maybe a replay win over Forey's.
I must admit, just as another wee side note, Forest is one of my favourite grounds to go and visit, just generally. Having lived up the North East for a wee while, it's a cracking wee ground they've got, and really good fans as well. But the civil service guys that travelled up would have experienced that yesterday, given that we are recording this Sunday. And yeah, a cracking result, especially getting the equaliser at the death. There'll be a tough nut to crack for the Cans coming down the road. I'd expect Civil to go through that now that they've got home advantage next weekend. But it's a Scottish Cup, anything can happen, and as you say, Forest are a decent outfit, so it's certainly not job done as yet.
No, definitely not. And our last replay, Dalbeattie Star 0-0 against Kelty. Obviously they'll be playing at New Central Park at the weekend. It was a tough one. Probably a lot of people expected Kelty to go down there and get the win, but obviously I was at the first game of the season for Kelty, and Dalbeattie drew with them 2-2. It was going to be a struggle. It was going to be a competitive game. Obviously, the way Dalbeattie play, I've talked about it in the past. How they fight for every ball. They're very, very physical. Let's put it that way. No offence to that. It works for them a lot of the time. So it was going to be a hard game. But from what I heard, it was from some fans. It wasn't. It was a good 0-0. Let's put it that way. From what I heard.
Yeah, I think. Well, to be fair to Dalbeattie, I think they play a very similar way to Kelty. And there's a physical side to them, but they've also got guys capable of getting on the ball and doing their thing. Wee Guy Sloan being the main one. Very, very talented player at this level, and probably could play at a higher level, let's be honest. But there's a little bit of a burgeoning rivalry there, I think. Which is interesting, because that's twice now that the Star have done what they've had to do and got a result off of Kelty. So it'll be interesting to see how that replay goes. But yeah, like I say, it's an interesting little brewing rivalry there between two teams that you wouldn't necessarily have had down as kind of having each other's number before the start of the season.
Definitely, mate. And I'm not wanting to name drop, but certainly we definitely know that there's some guys that are definitely into the sort of rivalry with each other. So
There's nothing wrong for good football rivalry. Put it that way.
yeah, let's not say any more on that.
The Stirling Uni are at home just now in the Scottish Cup. They're playing Keith right now as we speak at Fourth Bank, which it's only just kicked off right enough. So we'll see what happens with that one. It's a game that I'd be reasonably confident in seeing Chris Geddes and Stirling get through. Keith have not had the greatest of times recently, but who knows in a one-off cup game.
So getting into the weekend's fixture, we'll start off with Cumbernauld Colts versus Whitehill Welfare. Whitehill Welfare coming off that really decent Scottish Cup win against Edinburgh Uni, and the Colts are just really looking really good at the moment. So it's a tough one, but Colts at home, they're probably looking the sort of favourites for me in that one.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised to see it end in a stalemate, I don't think, but out of the two teams and the way they're going, you'd probably imagine Cumbernauld getting a couple of goals in the score sheet. So it'll depend if Whitehill can keep up with them, and if they can keep that strike force quiet as well, because they always seem to bag the goals.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the other fixtures here. There's quality ones all over the sheet basically, because Shire versus Gala, another one that two teams are fairly on the up at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to say to that, because Gala obviously coming off that really decent Scottish Cup win, and Shire starting to pick up the wins under Dell as well. So it's going to be competitive, as we always keep saying. It's going to be interesting, as I always keep saying.
Well, at the risk of sounding a little bit cheeky, Shire are still the only team to win at the Falkirk Stadium this season that are tenants there, so
oh God.
So for anyone in that area that's wanting to go and see a home team that's potentially going to do the business.
Jesus.
But no, joking aside, again, like you've saying, it's all good matchups across the board, isn't it? And that's probably more interesting, that one, now that Gala have gone and got a cracking result yesterday against Lossy. So I can't really call that one, I'll be honest. I'm the
same.
I'd maybe side with Shire just because they got home advantage there. But it's a really tough one to call.
And it's similar with the next one, I think. Gretna versus Edisport. Mm-hmm. It's another tough one, because Gretna obviously two decent wins in the sort of cup games that they've played recently, and then Edisport sort of doing their thing. Obviously they were out of the South Challenge Cup against BSC, but before that they were sort of doing well in the league. It's tough. It really is tough trying to choose between the teams, really. But
yeah, I wouldn't want to be putting bookies odds together for the Lowland just now, put it that way. I think I'd maybe slightly side with Edu in that one, Edusport, just purely because they've been on this run. I know Gretna have got a couple of decent results in a row, but I don't know, I think momentum wise, Edusport have been on a bit of a roll for a while now, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them get a result there.
Definitely not. And University of Stirling versus Vale of Leithen, it's another one that's quite hard to call, really.
Yeah, majorly.
Vale were kind of 50-50 what happens. I think Michael spoke about it in the last catch-up episode. They're all or nothing sort of team, and then University of Stirling a wee bit similar in some respects, obviously, but not as goals wise, maybe not as bad. But then again, they did actually beat Edinburgh Uni 5-1. So yeah, it's two teams that could do with a much needed win in the league just to sort of consolidate where they are, certainly. And it'll be an interesting one, as I keep mentioning. Every game's interesting.
But the one thing you'll guarantee in that one pretty much is goals, because Vale of Leithen just means goals. Simple as that.
Yep.
For and against. And it'll just depend who kind of edges through. I don't see it being a one team or the other team. It'll be a narrow win or a draw again, I think.
And we obviously talked about the Scottish Cup games, Civil Service versus Forries and Kelty Hearts at Dalbeattie. We've kind of covered them, so I think are you quite happy with that we've sort of covered them enough? Or?
Yeah. And again, it's really hard to put your neck out and go for it. I did say I fancy the strollers in the replay.
Yep.
Kelty Dalbeattie, that was a real contest the first time they played at New Central. A real proper contest. And do you know what? Dalbeattie will fancy their chances of getting through that. I think I'd marginally say Kelty would be the favourites just purely because of that home advantage, but it can go either way.
Definitely, mate. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be a competitive game. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last sort of two games, the League one at New Central Park and the one just at the weekend there in the Scottish Cup. It's a difficult one to call, but certainly both teams will fancy their chances. And Dalbeattie obviously have the experience of coming up to New Central Park, obviously earlier in the season as well. So, you know, it's being away from home's maybe not as a disadvantage to them because they've obviously been there before and know what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do have Tuesday night games as well. We've got Edinburgh Uni versus Vale of Leithen. Yeah. Edinburgh Uni in a wee bit of a slump at the moment, I would say. They obviously got their cup win over Oakley, but apart from that, they've not really been on the best of runs against Lowland League teams anyway.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a tough, sticky run there, but at the same time, being a university side, they've only just had their trials to get new blood in, and maybe that's what they need, just to spark something, kind of to get going again. So there's undoubted talent in that squad. Queevelainen being the main one that I've picked out, but what we've said already with Vale of Leithen, you don't know which way it's going to go. You just know it'll be entertaining. So either way, you'll get cracking tray bakes and you'll get a cracking entertaining game of football if you go Tuesday night.
Definitely, and a massive game, Gala versus Gretna. One for pride there, but both teams will be looking for a win. Definitely. That's one to keep an eye on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and I think we've got to the point now Gallifrey fancy themselves as the best side in the Borders in terms of the league. So we'll see if they can assert that or not. Because as much as the results are a wee bit mixed for Gretna, the squad's still pretty strong. Like, you forget how many decent guys have got in there a lot of the time. So yeah, we'll not make any predictions. We'll let things take their course, I think.
And one for sort of near the top of the league as well, Kelty Hearts versus Civil Service Strollers. Civil Service Strollers, I think they were defeated. They were defeated recently by BSC in a tight game, but certainly under Gary Jardine, they're still up there in terms of teams that you would expect to be higher up in the league as well. And Kelty obviously doing their thing as well. Obviously, the replay against Dalbeattie has probably not helped them in terms of, sort of playing less games or whatever. But they would have had a game against East Kilbride actually at the weekend, so that would have been interesting going into the civil service games. But it's another one that's two quality sides. It's obviously at New Central Park, which is obviously a fantastic ground. It's another one that's tough to call. But certainly you would expect a really decent game at that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we do keep saying it, and I know we might be slightly biased given that we are a Lowland League podcast, but these games are genuinely really kind of tough to call, and you'd expect entertainment in each one of them. So it's that game itself for the league is a huge game though, because with the way East Kilbride are going, you can't afford to drop many points. Even if they do drop a win here or there, or if they get, like, I know they drop points against Spartans there at the weekend, but there's not going to be too many games, I don't think, where they drop a couple of points. So if you want to get on level with them, you really need to get the 3 points stitched together and get on a run, say 5 or 6 games. What East Stirlingshire did at the end of last season, just winning constantly, maybe the occasional draw, but really putting the pressure on. That's what you need to do at this stage.
Certainly there's a couple of, more than a couple of teams for me that can put pressure on the likes of Spartans and East Kilbride if they obviously drop more points. Colts are up there, Kelty Hearts and Civil Service are definitely up there, and I would obviously have to add BSC to that as well. But these teams really need to sort of push on and get the wins, and when they play each other, it is literally must-win games, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I love this league, because we've talked about how it's a kind of shorter league schedule. It puts so much more importance on every single game, and when you've got that much riding on it, that's where you get the entertainment from it. Be it the kind of tense side of things, or be it the goals raining in, there's always something to get you going to the games for.
Yep, definitely, mate. Agreed.
And now we've had a look at the Lowland League games that are coming up next weekend. Let's not forget the second round draw for the Scottish Cup's been done straight after the first was completed. So to pick out the games that are going to involve Lowland sides, including BSC after that impressive one against nobody, yeah, the first tie that pops out to you, and given that you've been effusive in your praise for them, Cumbernauld Colts in Broadwood at home to BSC Glasgow, which has got the makings of a cracking cup tie. And that's one of a couple that really stick out in terms of all Lowland League affairs. But you've Dalbeattie or Kelty that we've just mentioned there. The winner of that will then travel to go to Peterhead, which is some journey, given that Peterhead are sitting second in League 2 just now. And they're one of the major competitors to go up to League 1, so that'll be a real good kind of barometer of where either of those sides are sitting just now. But I'll run through the other ones. So you've got Edgesport at home to Fraserburgh from the Highland League, who were in the top 2 or 3 last season and behind Cove. Edinburgh City at home to either Forest or Civil Service. So that's a
big one.
Interesting little side note to that one, with Gary Jordan potentially going back to Edinburgh City.
And a potential Edinburgh derby as well. That's definitely one that looks like it's going to be good. Well, depending on obviously if Civil can get the result against Forest, that's going to be a fantastic game.
But that would be a great match in prospect if they can get through that replay.
Yep.
And then you've got Gallifreydine at home to Stirlingshire, so the reverse of what we were just talking about in the league. East Kilbride at home to the Spartans yet again.
I did tweet out. I think you liked it, mate, but I did tweet out. I think they like playing each other at this point, or I'm not sure if they like playing each other at this point.
I think it's like stepbrothers at this point, is it? They're just can't get out of each other's way. But the other games to round it off, I mentioned Gretna had a really interesting draw away to Berwick Rangers, who are kind of sitting lower half of League 2. They're not particularly looking like they're in danger at finishing bottom right now, but who knows? They could be a team that's involved in the end of season playoffs. And for Gretna, it's a team and the journey time is a lot longer than I realised, I'll be honest. But it's kind of getting referred to as a Borders derby of some kind of description. I don't know if the distance justifies it, but we'll see how they perform there. And just to round it off after that, derby or not so derby, you've got Whitehill Welfare's reward for getting past Edinburgh Uni is a trip to Elgin, which is I'm not sure you call it a reward because that's a hell of a journey, but it's going to be a challenge for them and an interesting way to see where they're at. And the last game is Devonvale versus either University of Stirling or Keith.
Yep. Which we'll have the result at the end of the episode, obviously. All in all, a good weekend for the Lowland League teams in Scottish Cup action. The only ones that were obviously put out were by fellow Lowland League teams, so it's looking good. It's looking good for the Lowland in the Scottish Cup so far.
Right, so into the plugs, and I'll let you lead the way.
So, you're very gracious. Let me go first for once. Excuse me, I almost died with laughter there. So for me, it's at Rampant FM on Twitter, and you can also find me on YouTube.
And for me, then, it's as always at Mozza Plays, 2 Z's in there on Twitter. And to be honest with you, given that we've talked about Rocksport at the very start, we really should drop a wee link to them as well. So if you want to find Rock Sport and have a listen to their football chat, and you'll also, if you're on Twitter, you'll be able to see them recording it live as well, the way they do it. Bill, Hugh and the guys. You've got at Rock Sport DAB on Twitter. That's where you'll find them.
Good. So that pretty much wraps up the episode, mate. Obviously another good one. So glad to be back. I kind of missed it last week, as you know. I done my fantasy football.
Yeah.
I think it went well.
And for those of you that think that he's missed out, anyone, be sure to tell him on Twitter as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the majority of players that I picked agreed anyway, and certainly some of the clubs. So it was difficult. It was very difficult to sort of choose between sort of two players at each club, because there's so many players at each club that probably deserve a mention. I tried to sort of justify it a wee bit more in the second part of that. I name dropped a few players that might have had the chance to be in it, but the way I was sort of looking at it, it was really enjoyable to do, and I'm glad that we're doing sort of new things, I guess, as well. Obviously, the podcast is just the start. We're highlighting the league in different ways, and I'm really happy that I've been afforded the opportunity to do so. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a wee final thank you, as always, to all of you that have subscribed on iTunes and listened to us through the various channels that are out there on YouTube as well. We really appreciate the support we're getting, as always, and we will see you next week.
Yep. So that is another episode of the Lowland League catch-up done for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it, especially after our little break that we had. So just to confirm that Stirling Uni did get past Keith, they won 2-1, and it is a trip to Devon Vale for them in the second round. Congratulations to all the Lowland League teams that progressed to the second round of the Scottish Cup. It's an absolute privilege to promote this league, and all the fantastic work from the likes of Michael Park and George Fraser. We're obviously thankful for the people that listen to us and support us and whatnot. As I said, it's a group effort, and everyone's really putting a lot of hard work behind the scenes to make this a league that people want to be involved in. But we will be back next week for a reaction to the weekend's games, and so until next time, I'll see you soon.